All of the action from the South African Triathlon Championships, the ITU World Para Triathlon event and the ATU African Chmps is proudly brought to you by Buffalo City, the National Lottery Commission, Tribal Triathlon and Triathlon South Africa. It's a warm welcome to the east coast of South Africa. We are in Buffalo City. It's in the heart of the Sunshine Coast. This little gem has played host to the SA Triathlon Chmps over the last 2 years, and this is the third year it returns to Buffalo City. This year, a pretty big event. It's the ATU African Chmps, the SA Triathlon Chmps, and the ITU World Para Triathlon event all in one. So it's a huge event for the city hosting this one. And a lot of the athletes turning up from all around the world to take part in the Para Triathlon event, which of course forms part of the very first event in the series.
For a top 5 to get some points for Rio, so it's going to be a hard race. Definitely more competitive than last year, and the standard is much higher.
It's my first time in South Africa. This is the first ITU event in 2016. And today we have a big field because it's a Paralympic years and everyone wants to get a spot for Rio. So we're all here trying to get our spot for the Paralympic Games.
Weather and swimming conditions looking pretty good.
Looking pretty flat at the moment, but I'm a confident swimmer, so I don't mind if the waves pick up a little bit. Bike course looks really good. It's a little bit hilly, not overly my favourite type, but once the adrenaline's going.
The ITU World Para Triathlon event, this is of course the very first of the World Series happening here in Buffalo City. So you got some of the world's best triathletes taking part in this one, coming from around 8 countries. The conditions on the day had Stan Andrews from South Africa really excited.
I know it's flat and fast. It's nice and calm, which means it's going to be a very interesting swim. It's going to be a fast swim. And then the new transition is going to be great as well. It's going to be a fast race today.
Well, I don't think they could have asked for any better weather conditions. A high of just on 22 degrees as the first of the para athletes get going. And, these athletes, of course, do a wet start where they walk into the water just about waist deep, and then the starter gun goes off. They divided into different categories all the way from PT5 right through to PT1. Those are the classes they compete in. The first athletes to leave were, of course, the PT5 and PT4s. They were the first to get going as a group, and already the French athlete Arnaud Grandjean making a huge impact on the field here. Hector Catalana La Parra from Spain in second place. They do, of course, a 750-meter swim. 5 different groups starting just on 3 minutes apart in this event. These are the visually impaired athletes. You can see they tethered to a guide who swims with them throughout the entire event. Also during the cycle, they're on a tandem. On the run, they have the guide with them as well that verbally guides them and guides them along the route as well. So that means the guide has got to maintain the pace that the athlete competes at, which makes it a pretty difficult and very interesting event to watch. So as the athletes in the PT4s now making their way to the beach, a lot of the visually impaired athletes, you can see they stay really close to the guide. The guide will then actually shout commands to them when they get to the buoy. She'll say to the athlete, "Boy," and she'll have to turn left. Of course, they are tethered together, which allows the athlete to kind of feel her way around the course. So the first of the athletes coming out of the water, the Frenchman really leading the way here, closely followed by the Spanish. Keep in mind, this is the very first of the World Para Triathlon season, the first event right here in South Africa. It's a global event that goes to various destinations around the globe. In the PT4 category, Yannick Morceau from France, the man to watch. He was second out of the water. David Hill from the UK just behind him. Alexander Hilchek on the left coming out. Is that Lauren Steadman? It is. Lauren Steadman, the first British lady in the PT4 category and out of the water as well. So all of the leaders now on the road. They're going into transition to the bike. That's David Hill from Great Britain. He's a big contender in the PT4 category. they now embark on their cycle. Of course, it's a 10-kilometer lap cycle. They do 2 laps, 20 kilometers in total. These are the first of the PT5 athletes now coming off the water, the visually impaired athletes. You see the harbour wall in the background as we look at the chasing pack. That's one good thing about the Orient Beach. It does tend to shelter the athletes a little bit from the open swell. It does get very bumpy out here. I've seen triathlons at this beach get really, really bumpy with the swells coming in, especially if the wind turns southerly though. So the athletes now heading into transition. This is Melissa Reid from the UK. I think she's looking for a pretty good performance on the bike today. Dutch athlete Daniel Knecht getting out on his cycle as well. You can see a lot of international athletes representing their countries here in this ITU World Para Triathlon event. These are some of the PT2 and PT1 athletes now getting out of the water. Big thanks to the Selborne boys for coming out to support these athletes. They've got to be carried out of the water. Some of them then have assistants that help them on the beach. Team manager from Great Britain keeping a watchful eye on proceedings and his team's preparation. Of course, going pretty well. He's got a team in every single category competing today. That's Italian athlete Giovanni Sasso going through. Last year he finished just off the podium behind Ryan Taylor from Great Britain. Looking to improve on that this year. South African Dylan De Silva. Last year this young man took honours in the PT3 category. He's looking to repeat that performance this year. Managed to beat Cyril Lorff to the finish line. Catching up with the leaders on the cycle. This is the Dutchman Jacques van der Berg, lying in 4th place at the moment, just behind the Russian Alexander Yilchik. Yilchik's just ahead of him. British athlete David Hill in pursuit of the Frenchman Maxime Morel, who by the way led this event for the first lap and then was chased down by Yannick Bourseau, the Frenchman. So the French really strong competitors in the PT4 category, as the rest of the PT1 and PT2s now getting out of the water, getting ready for their cycle. They're out on the hand cycles, and believe me, these guys can really get going. And sometimes they're even faster than many of their very able athletes on the bicycles. We'll see when they get going at high speed. As the remainder of the PT1 and 2 athletes get going, it was the Frenchman Maxime Morel coming in to do his first lap, or complete his first lap. Hill was still on a big chase. He really wanted to try and make an impact on the bike, as was Jacques van der Berg. Looking forward to see Alexander Yilchik still in his sights on the route. These are the PT1 athletes getting going at the moment. Giovanni Accenza powering up. Of course, last year in the final in Chicago, he finished in 5th place overall in that World Championship event. Also, of course, this is the event that Anton Swanepoel from South Africa takes part in. Hogg at the moment lying in 2nd place, just behind Accenza. So there's going to be a lot of competition for Swanepoel in this event. We spoke to him before the event and he says he was looking forward to it. Swanepoel really having his work cut out for him if he wants to repeat his success that he had last year. Coming up past the Esplanade, they arrived with a beautiful ocean on the left-hand side where they came off the swim. 60 athletes in this para-triathlon event. Of course, it is the maximum amount of athletes allowed in the field by the ITU. So it's a pretty well-supported event. Hopefully we're going to see this event back here in the future, coming part of the World Para-Triathlon circuit. As we mentioned before, this is of course the very first event in the ITU World Para-Triathlon season. They go off to Sydney next, then they head off to Yokohama in Japan, and it's off to Spain, and then Strathclyde in the UK as well. South African athletes really looking to shine. They want to try and get as many points as they can here, because they do make their qualifiers for the Rio Olympic Games as well. This is Bourseau coming into transition. He was the first athlete to get off the bike. The Dutchman Jacques van der Berg in close 2nd place. David Hill dropping back a little bit on the cycle, but he's a very good runner, so he's probably going to make up some time there. As Bourseau gets out of a transition. This is the 2nd Frenchman, Maxime Morel. He's lost a bit of time on the cycle as well, just on 2 minutes. So Van der Berg, the Dutchman, now trying to add a little bit of pressure in the run. This is the man we're going to have to watch though. If there's going to be a challenge, it's going to be from Hill, the Brit. He's a very, very strong runner as he heads out on the run. Morel just behind him. So the Frenchman not far behind. But First of the PT5 ladies in transition as well. Strong competition here this year from Britain. Alison Patrick and Melissa Reed taking part. Patrick at this stage leading the PT5 category. Susana Rodriguez from Spain in second place. This is Yannick Borchot, the man, PT4 athlete, out on the route. He's had a really strong swim, a very good cycle, managed to pull back some time. Now he's in the lead, and he's going to have to now defend this lead out on the run. These athletes basically competing sprint distances here. It's a 5-kilometer route they follow, 2 laps out on the course. These are the first of the men in the PT 1 and 2 categories now getting going. The Spanish having a massive field in this year's event. That's Phil Hogg getting going on his run. He's just behind Giovanni Atienza. Atienza managing to pull a bit of a gap on him. 5 minutes in the cycle. Anton Swanepoel, the South African, heading out onto his run as well. So it's all to ride for out there. And it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. I think Giovanni Atienza might just have a little bit of a lead that's going to be unassailable for Hogg to close the gap down. Spanish PT5 athlete Susana Rodriguez, she's in second place at the moment, just behind Alison Patrick from Great Britain. So she's also trying to close a gap of just on 2.5 minutes. Patrick managed to open the gap on her. This is our second place PT4 lady, Gladys Lamossou from France. She's just behind Lauren Stedman. She's being chased by Levay Petra from Hungary. So the ladies also having a massive big fight on their hands in the PT4 category. South African athlete Dylan De Silva coming to the turn here. Last year he took the PT3 class. This year I think Francesca, the Brazilian, just giving him a little bit of a run for his money. So Dylan De Silva not having it all his own way in the PT3 class this year. The Frenchman Yannick Borchot, though, he hasn't put a foot wrong in the PT4 category. He closed down a big gap in the cycle, and now he's heading to the finish line to take the overall honours in the PT4 class.
Very happy to win today because it's the first race of the season, and because at the end of the winter you don't know where you are of the training, and I'm happy because I win.
France taking overall victory in PT5 as well. Arnaud Grandjean coming through to claim that win. While for the ladies in PT4, it was going to be Lauren Stedman taking the honours.
It was really good. I haven't got like the top leaders in the world here with me, so I knew that it was a safe and steady race, and it was actually the race that I could qualify my automatic selection for Rio, so it was a safe and steady race.
Great finish for Spain, taking second and third place in PT5. Catalana Rapada and Garcia Serrano coming through in second and third place respectively. But in the PT1s, Giovanni Atienza taking victory.
Il tempo è stato stupendo, a parte il vento trasversale che dava un po' fastidio sia sulla bike che sulla wheelchair.
Nothing like a bit of celebration at the finish line with the Spanish athletes. Let's recap then the overall finishing positions for round 1 of the ITU World Para Triathlon event. So a fantastic finish by PT1 athlete Giovanni Atienza, grabbing first place for Italy. First place in PT2 going to Ryan Taylor. Mohamed Laha from Morocco in second place. While PT4's Yannick Borchot, the Frenchman, dominating PT4's David Hill from the UK just behind him. While the UK athletes Lauren Stedman and Alison Patrick dominating PT4 and 5. The Buffalo City SA Triathlon Championships was the next event to take place. Commonly known as the age groupers, this was by far the biggest field of athletes competing on the day, just on 180 athletes. As the men were the first to set off on the swim. Swimming conditions staying pretty flat. Not much of a swell coming through. You can see by the aerial footage there, it's looking pretty flat out there. So I think many of the athletes coming from Gauteng is going to have an absolute wonderful ocean swim. So the first of the men heading around that very first turn, boy. It's a 750 meter course. They've got to do it twice. Of course, they do compete in the Olympic distance for the age groupers. An event like this taking a lot of hard work by the local planning committee to get together. Without sponsors, an event like this impossible to host. For local sponsor Tribal Triathlon, Killian Ryan was very happy with the turnout.
Every year we see a fantastic crowd, not only of athletes but also of supporters, and this year has proved to be the exact same. We're delighted to be part of a sport and an industry that's going from strength to strength in South Africa, and we're very, very proud to be one of the cornerstones of triathlon, hopefully in South Africa going forward.
Catching up with the age groupers as they are in a transition. This year the same as previous years, Central Gauteng having a huge dominance in the field. The distance for the SA Triathlon Champs in the cycle being an Olympic distance, it's 40 kilometers, 3 laps of the route that runs along the Esplanade in Buffalo City. The route, of course, run over a total road closure route on the beachfront and then going into the Northeast Expressway. It's part of the highway that's been closed down. By the way, if you do want to catch all things triathlon related, including the results for the Para Triathlon event, you can go to the triathlon.org website. For the age groupers and the SA Triathlon Champs, do go to triathlonsa.co.za and catch all the results there. 2 local athletes, Brad Burkholz and Craig Ollers, doing battle for the age group category 35 to 39 years old. With the Rio Olympics around the corner, Triathlon South Africa has been putting in a lot of work preparing our team. We'll be taking part in the Rio Olympics. We caught up with Debbie Alexander to tell us a little more.
The planning's going well. Most of our athletes are here with the exception of Richard. But after this event, they will do 1 or 2 other events. Then they'll move to the Cape Town event. And after that, we've got a local camp for the athletes who we're hoping who are on the long list for Rio. And thereafter, some more events. And once we know who the team is, we'll be having a camp in Europe, one at altitude, and then we'll move down to possibly to Spain before we do the move over to Rio. Things are going well. We're really very grateful to you for helping us out with the athletes' wetsuits and the kits, especially between now and Rio, as they're lining up for the camps and the rest of the competitions.
Of course, Olympics starting on August the 5th, 2016. Wishing our athletes representing South Africa the best of luck for the event. Hope you perform really well, guys. So as the athletes coming through in the age group of finishers for the Buffalo City SA Triathlon Championships, nothing like getting something refreshing to drink and then just cooling down by the side of the pool, maybe getting those tired feet a chance to relax. Last event for the day would be the Buffalo City ATU African Championships. Vian Salwal just coming off a knee injury. Not sure of his condition, but he was really looking forward to the event.
Yeah, it's not been great for me leading up to it. I've been nursing a knee injury. I've had a tore in my lateral collateral knee ligament, so it's been quite a bit downtime with regards to running. But I got the green light on Monday from the doctors, so today will be a good hit out of a test of the fitness.
It was going to be a pretty small field as far as the men was concerned. Henry Skuman knew what he had to do.
I guess if you get into the lead group after the swim, you have a good chance with some strong cyclists to get away, and especially in the wind. And then, yeah, if you're in the front off the bike, you have a good chance to run yourself into a good position.
While the guys were in transition getting ready, the ladies were on the beach preparing, getting ready for the start. Gillian Saunders won this event before we caught up with her and asked her about the competition in the field.
I think you always got to watch out for everyone. At this stage of the year, you don't know who's in shape and who's not. It's very early on in the year. We've got a lot of time till August, till the game. So there are a couple of girls who have raced a few races, Marie Rabi, Lauren Dance, Carlin Fisher. They're always great competitors, so lots of competition.
So 11 ladies setting off. It's a pretty small field that's going to make competition even tougher. All of the big names as far as South Africa is here. Marie Rabi, Gillian Saunders, Carlin Fisher and Vicky van der Merwe as well. 2 international athletes competing from Egypt, Fatma Hagras and Melina Wangwingwa from Mauritius in the field as well. But as we get to that first turn, boy, it's Marie Rabi just applying the pressure and managing to pull away from the rest of the field. Local girl Cindy Schultz in the field as well. She's been dominating as far as triathlons have been concerned in the junior group, but this year she's competing in the senior category as she did last year. Look at this, it's Marie Rabi, a very powerful stroke. She's completed her 2 laps. Out of the water she comes, glances over her shoulder quickly, and you see she's shaking her head there. She's worked as hard as she can. She's built up a little bit of a lead. Just on 50 seconds as she leaves the water. It's going to give her a little bit of a gap to play with on the bike. If she can extend that lead on the bike, she's going to have a pretty easy run. Here come the chasers. Alexander Quenet leading Gillian Saunders out of that steep little climb next to the Orient Theatre. But Rabi's on her bike and she's going. So it's going to be a gauntlet being thrown down here to Saunders and Quinay. Will they be able to make up the gap? So keep in mind, that gap at the moment just on 50 seconds. I think Marie Rabi pretty strong on the bike. She's going to want to try and extend that as much as she can. It's an open road ahead of her as she pushes down on the pedal. So Saunders and Quinay get out of the transition area almost together. Saunders making her way past the Buffalo Park Cricket Ground now. Karen Grenfell and Lauren Dance coming up into transition. They'll be in a very close, looks like 4th and 5th place. But this lady is stamping her authority on the event pretty early on. Marie Rabi wanting to get the cycle done with. She knows if she can get a good time in the cycle, she doesn't have to do a very hard run. This is the battle for 3rd place at the moment for these athletes together. Cindy Schultz, local lady, leading the way, followed by Dance van der Merwe and Colin Fisher. So the 4 of them sticking together, the big battle for 3rd place. Robbie leading, Saunders in 2nd place. She's coming in for her last lap now. So as the ladies heading to the last lap, the men were getting ready for the start of their Buffalo City ATU African Championship. The field lines up, and I'm not quite sure who to put my money on for this event. It's going to be a pretty tight race. You heard Skuman say the fact that the field is small makes it a lot more difficult as they fight their way through the initial surf. High tide coming in this time of the afternoon at the Orient Beach. So they're fighting a little bit of a current as they swim out, but that first buoy not too far off. They'll also be doing 2 laps of this circuit, 750 meters. And look at this, it was Skuman leading the way around the buoy first, then the rest of the field following close behind. This is the chasing 4 as far as the ladies are concerned in the cycle. Schultz, Dance, van der Merwe and Fisher all still together. They'll be going in for their last lap now. Saunders, oh look at this, Saunders being caught by the chasing 4. So Saunders now having to join up with the chasing 4. It's going to make a pretty interesting ride as far as this last lap is concerned. So now this group of 4 has expanded to 5 riders. Rabi pulling away on the bike, she's on her last lap. When she comes past the finish line again, she's going into transition. And it's going to be a very easy run for her. I don't think they're going to be closing this gap down. She's got a lead of just on 2 minutes 20 seconds as far as the run is concerned. So she doesn't have to push very hard. She came out of the swim with a lead of just on 50 seconds. She's now extended it to just on 2 minutes as far as the cycle is concerned. So she's been making up time. Here they come now. This is the chasing group. They're all together. Schultz, Dance, van der Merwe, Fisher. And of course they picked up Saunders on the last lap as well. So it's a group of 5 ladies all together. And the South Africans really doing well in this group. It's an all South African chasing group. I think ideally Saunders wanted to keep that gap in the cycle, but it's difficult to fight off a chasing group of 4 riders. They have to do a lot less effort than one single rider. Robbie really managing to stay out. As we catch up with the boys in the swim here, Henry Skuman, he's leading the field in the swim. He's got a nice big gap going here. A gap of just on another big gap, 40 seconds in the swim. So Skuman comes out of the water. The rest of the field having to play catch up here. And they're all together. This is Solwald, Engelbrecht and Mendy Esadik from Morocco. Rikus Kutsia in there as well, as is Clinton Gravett. So these are the boys that will be chasing down Henry Skuman as far as the cycle was concerned. But Skuman pretty fast on the bike. He wants to get out there and try and make an impact on the bike. Maybe we see a repeat of what's been happening in the ladies' race. The ladies well on the way as far as their run is concerned. This is the lady they're chasing, 30-year-old Marie Rabi. She's from Stellenbosch. She wants to try and claim maximum points today in this event. As the guys get going out of transition. This is the chasing group. They're just behind Skuman here. Looks like it's going to be Solwald and Engelbrecht leading the charge out of transition. So Skuman's got a lead on the bike of just on 1 minute 20 seconds at this stage. It's going to be down to these 2 to make a difference, and they're already breaking away from the rest of the field. Solwald and Engelbrecht, while the ladies are entering the last lap of their run at the moment. So as far as ladies' run's concerned, Saunders consolidating her 2nd place. This is the big fight though for 3rd between Fisher and Schultz. And look at this, Cindy Schultz managing to take a position from Colin Fisher there. So on the last lap, Schultz applying the pressure on Fisher, taking a position But this is Marie Robbie. She's led from start to finish, and she's going to take the win.
It was quite tough. It was really windy out in the back bike, especially on the way back, but that's the same for everyone. And normally in the tougher windy conditions, the stronger athletes do better, and I'm quite strong across all three, so it definitely played to my strengths today.
So while the lead ladies can celebrate the victory, the men were on the last lap here. This is the chasing bunch consisting of, it looks like, Mehdi Ascetic from Morocco, Triath Coetzee, Clinton Gravett and Hein van der Merwe. So the four of them trying to close the gap down. Of course, ahead of them, Rian Solwald and Basson Engelbrecht. They were trying to close the gap down to Henry Schoeman, but Schoeman just holding that gap. They're making a little bit of an impression as far as the bike is concerned. But it's still just on a 1 minute lead for Henry Schoeman. Schoeman coming into transition. Very much a repeat of the ladies' race here. Marie Robbie managed to get away early on in the swim. She kept the lead all throughout, and it looks like it's going to be the same here for Henry Schoeman. So Schoeman into transition. Here come the chasers, Solwald and Engelbrecht. They're just on a minute behind. But I think Schoeman might just be able to fend them off unless something happens on the run. As the two of them now heading into transition, I think they're going to be sticking together in the run. Solwald might just be a little bit of a stronger runner than Engelbrecht. He's competed on the course before. He's been out here on the route before, so he knows the route pretty well, knows how to pace himself. Solwald getting out first, Engelbrecht just behind him. So now the chase is on. Solwald's going to try and close the gap down to Schoeman, but behind him it's going to be Engelbrecht applying the pressure. Schoeman going in, he's got to do 4 laps of this beachfront course. Here come the chasers. This is the group that contains Ascetic, Triath Coetzee and the local boy Clinton Gravett. Gravett leads them into transition. Ascetic there in 3rd place. So it looks like they've dropped Hein van der Merwe from that group. This is Solwald chasing down Schoeman, and he's managing to make a little bit of an impact on that lead. Clinton Gravett, local boy, taking part in the elite category now. Schoeman coming around, he's got 1 more lap to go. And I don't think anybody's going to catch this young man. Solwald's trying to make an impression. He's got the lead down, but it's not going to be enough. He's been fighting back as hard as he can. This is Mehdi Ascetic from Morocco. At the moment lying in 4th place, but the win in the category will go to Schoeman, coming through to take honours.
Yeah, I was using my swim to my advantage. There weren't too many athletes in the field, so there wasn't going to be a big group to chase behind. So I used that to my advantage, and I just tried to maintain my lead, and I managed to get a few more seconds after the bike, and yeah, plan went well.
Fantastic finish then for Henry Schoeman, taking 1st place in the Buffalo City ATU Triathlon African Championships. Great finish for Rian Solwald in 2nd place, while there's Marie Robbie taking honours for the girls ahead of Gillian Saunders. As we bid you farewell from Buffalo City, that concludes our coverage. We wish you an amazing triathlon season. All of the triathlon action was proudly brought to you by Buffalo City, the National Lotteries Commission, Tribal Triathlon and Triathlon South Africa.